Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and welcome to the Debt Management Masterclass. Now, I wanted to do this video just to introduce the concept of the Debt Management Masterclass because of the fact that we look at debt a lot differently. You notice that I call it the Debt Management Masterclass and not the Debt Elimination Masterclass. There's a lot of people that will tell you that debt is bad, all debt is bad, and if you can avoid debt as a whole, you will be way better off for it. But here at Life 180, we believe that your financial success is going to be directly correlated to your ability to focus on creation of cash flow, not accumulation. One of the things I talk about all the time is the idea that the human brain only allows you to put 100% of effort into something that you believe with 100% certainty that you can be successful with. I personally believe that the idea of accumulating money just puts us in a subconscious state that we're not going to be able to be successful with because we're having to think too far long out in the future. And I want to just kind of start by giving a little bit of an example of what I mean by that. And so when we think about it, I want to talk about somebody who's maybe 35 years old, okay? Just to set the stage here, this is pretty much what I'm going to use for the terms as we go through this entire class. Is 35 years old of age. And so, if we start thinking about for retirement planning, you have 30 years left, right? From a traditional, retire at 65 kind of deal, right? And so when we start thinking about a 30-year time horizon for planning, well, now we have to start thinking about like, oh my gosh, what does that look like for in the context of my planning for my life, right? Because when we start thinking about our money and we start thinking about achieving our goals, one of the challenges is people don't like bucket it all, right? So we got different silos. We have, debt slash, we'll just say debt. We have lifestyle. We have retirement planning, right? We have insurances. We have all these different things, and there could be more. This isn't the point of this video, is to make this a really comprehensive video on those topics. But the bottom line is most people will silo in different areas, in these different areas. They say, oh, I'm an insurance expert. I'm a retirement planning expert. But the problem with retirement planning is they say, all right, what do? We need to accumulate money. Right? And that's what they tell you, but there's no distribution plan. They don't really know. And what I'm gonna tell you is that this whole accumulate model is broken. Why is it broken? Because of what I just said, is the human brain only allows you to put 100% of effort into something you believe with 100% certainty you have a chance of being successful with. And what I want to do is just keep it really, really simple. If you know the rule of 72, it basically says that your money needs to double if you divide the interest rate by 72, or 72 by the interest rate. That's what how long it's going to take for your money to double. So since 1971, the average rate of inflation equals 4.4%. If you think about that, so I use this number. I know the Fed's target inflation is 2%, but the bottom line is we have big years. And when you have big years of inflation, it's kind of like toothpaste. When it's squeezed out, you can't get the inflation toothpaste back in the bottle, so to speak, right? And so this average rate of inflation of 4.4% since 1971, I'm going to use 4% as a number. And so what we would do is we'd say 72 divided by 4 equals I want to say that it is 18. Let me just do math because I don't want to get things right. 72 divided by 4 is 18. Okay? So what does that mean? It means every 18 years, your money needs to double, right? So money needs to double. So when we're investing, that would mean if I invested, let's just say $100,000, and I earned 4%, that means 18 years from now, if I earn 4% every year, and I went 18 years, it would equal $200,000. That's how much my 100,000 would grow to. The problem is when we start talking about debt, now we're talking, and we start talking about income, I should say, what happens is this $100,000, let's just start, instead of thinking about investment, let's start thinking about it as a $100,000 income. Now all of a sudden we have this $100,000 income, and it's saying if inflation is 4%, that means in 18 years you need to be earning $200,000 just to maintain standard of living. Okay? Now, why am I bringing all this up in a debt management masterclass? Because I believe that a couple things, that we can't just silo everything off. There's a lot of people that will tell you debt is bad, like Dave Ramsey's of the world will tell you debt is bad because you're too stupid to manage it effectively. I am going to come at this through the lens of that you can't plan for anything you don't understand. So I want you to understand the entire playing field in this debt management masterclass, right? I want you to understand all the variables that go into your success. And I believe that fundamentally speaking, in order for you to be successful, we need to be focusing on cash flow above and beyond anything else, okay? So this is something that's really, really important. So now what are we going to talk about? So cash flow versus accumulation. Those are the two different methodologies that we're going to be ultimately comparing against each other. Because if you look at the traditional world, accumulation, well, what are they saying? The traditional model is saying you should go to school, get a job, invest in a 401k, and you should take, and you should probably understand, or you've probably heard this, I should say, that you should invest or save 10% of your income, right? If you invest or save 10% and you earn 8%, then you'll be fine. That's because most people say long-term, the S&P 500 is going to earn 8%. So that's a safe number for you to bank on. They're going to say that if you save 10% of your income, you should be good to go. But the reality is, A, not many people are doing this, and B, even if you do this, you are in a rough position. Why is that the case? Because it goes back to this right here. It goes back to what I was talking about here. If you make $100,000 right now, 18 years from now, you're going to need 200. And I'll tell you what, 36 years from now, you're going to need 400, because once again, that 200 compounds against you. Everybody talks about the power of compounding growth when we're talking about it in terms of benefit for you when you're investing. But at a 4% inflation rate, that 200,000 need for income, that 100,000, by the time you're 66 years old, you're going to need 400,000 just to maintain your standard of living at only a 4% rate of inflation, which once again, since 1971, the average rate of inflation has been 7.4 or 4.4%. Don't believe me? Go look it up. Okay? So here's the deal. When we start talking about this, now we go, all right, well, at $400,000, okay, so if I need at retirement $400,000 per year in income to maintain standard of living, and I say, wow, if I understand the 4% rule, if everybody understands the 4% rule, it means I can safely do a 4% distribution from my retirement account to be able to not run a high risk of running out of money during retirement, right? That means I need $10 million, okay? And so the problem is, I don't know anybody right now making $100,000 that believes that this model is going to get me to $10 million. The problem when we start talking about accumulation is we're thinking too far out. We're starting to think about, we don't understand the variables of what inflation is going to be like. We don't understand, what the political uncertainty, the geopolitical environment. We don't understand we have no clarity and no confidence, or very little confidence, of what the world could look like in 30 years from all these different levels, right? Inflation, the world's reserve currency status in the United States, geopolitical risks, the market risks, the timing of the market risks, the sequence of return risks, as we would call it. All these things come into play. So I don't know anybody that believes, right, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that they could get to $10 million comfortably. Now, some people are going to say, Chris, $400,000, that's unrealistic. There's going to be Social Security. If you believe there's Social Security, if you believe maybe you have other assets that are going to be there, let's just say I'm wrong. Let's just say that you need maybe 3/4 of that because you got Social Security and other things that are touching in, and you only need $300,000, okay? Well, you still need $7,500,000 in an account. So once again, we're having the same conversation, I think. You know, most people are not going to believe that they're going to get to 7.5 million when they're trying to accumulate and get to this number. The problem that I see with most accumulation statistics is they're banking on, all right, what do you need for today's number, right? You're earning $100,000, and they say with a 4% rule, all you need to do is get to 2.5 million. That's what they say is the current number. That if you go and do the Fidelity number for your retirement plan, and they're going to say, oh, at $100,000, you need this $2.5 million. But the reality is that's not the case. You have to take inflation into the calculations of what your future needs are going to be, because I think people right now are realizing the pain of this. And once again, what does this have to do with the debt management? Well, not a lot on the actual terms of debt management, except for to understand the purpose in this introduction video is to get you to understand the importance of thinking about life in terms of cash flow over accumulation when it comes to your retirement planning. Because if we get away from all these different silos and we realize that everything we do in each silo actually spills over and impacts the other, when we realize that, then we start saying, all right, my financial plan, my financial strategy is not just about insurances. It's not just about saving. It's not just about how I use debt. It's not just about my lifestyle. It's not just about, you know, my retirement planning and my distribution planning and my retirement income planning. It's everything tied together, rolled into one. That's what comes into play. And if we know that cash flow is everything, and if we start thinking about cash flow, and I'm going to show you why it's so important subconsciously for you to focus on cash flow over accumulation. If we know that cash flow is so important, well then you and your understanding of debt and how you leverage debt and how you utilize debt to create cash flow, or how you avoid debt in certain areas to mitigate your risks, is going to have a direct impact on your ability to reach your financial goals faster, right? With more predictability. That's ultimately what I want you to understand. So now let's talk about cash flow, okay? What I know, and I know $100,000 a year is the example I used, but I'm just gonna say $10,000 per month, okay? That's $120,000 a year, but I just wanna use simple terms. Why? Because the challenge that I had, once again, is we need to get your subconscious to believe that you have a chance of success, right? That's what this comes down to. So at $10 million, if you go, I'm earning 100 grand, I need to get to 400 grand because of this 4%, or because of the 4% rule and the fact that we have 4% inflation that's happening, right? That number leads me to, let's either 10 million or 7.5 million or somewhere in the range, depending on, you know, what you think you're gonna have for other benefits there, and depending on what your quality of life will be like. But the only way you can argue with me on this is by saying, okay, I really don't think that inflation is going to be a problem. That you think that for some reason 100 years of our fiat currency system and the Fed's target inflation rate is not going to rear its ugly head on us, right? Like so, or you think that that's just going to change overnight. Well, once again, I don't know anybody subconsciously that believes this. So naturally, this is why I think a lot of people self-sabotage their own personal finances. And I think the power of thinking about it in terms of cash flow is thinking about it through the terms of, all right, what can I get my mind to believe? You may not believe you can get to $10 million, but you believe right now you can get to $10,000 a month in cash flow. Why? Because subconsciously you've seen it, you've felt it, you've touched it, you've earned that $10,000 a month before, right? And so now if we go in and we utilize all the money in our life, and we start thinking about things through different terms, and I'm gonna go through a lot of this. I'm gonna talk about you, no matter where you're starting right now. I don't care if you're massive debt, destroyed credit, and you need to rebuild some credit, and you need to dig out of this hole, and you need to control your life like that and regain control of your life in those terms. We're gonna help you there, right? We're gonna, this whole debt management masterclass is gonna help you climb out of that hole. But maybe you're starting later down the path, and you've got a decent amount of assets and your debt isn't that bad and you just want to be able to manage the debt more effectively and you want to figure out how to leverage the debt more effectively to actually increase your cash flow and accelerate your goals and objectives and you achieving those goals and objectives, right? That's what this is all about. So I want you to understand that as we go through this, we're going to be talking about the different types of debt that you can utilize, right? So we're going to talk about the different types of debt. So I'll just write this out a little bit here. We're going to talk about the different types of debt. We're going to talk about cash flow indexing. We're going to talk about moving beyond budgeting. Okay, so one of the big things that I'll really be leaning on here as we go through this, and we're going to go through the whole masterclass systematically, is talking about the fact that you need to think like an entrepreneur, and so beyond budgeting is what I'm going to say. But what I will say also on the beyond budgeting is like you got to think like an entrepreneur. It's not that you don't have to manage inflows and outflows of cash flow, but it's about the idea of budgeting is restrictive, right? It's like I got to shrink my way to success. Budgeting means restriction, and I think anytime you put your mind in a subconscious state where I got to restrict and I got to shrink, it's hard to create an environment of expansion and wealth creation when you're thinking about budgeting. That is my problem subconsciously with people like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, right? Because they're always thinking about how do I constrict my way to wealth, and you just can't do that. And so we're going to walk through and tell you, all right, if you're not going to budget, what can you do to do that? And then ultimately, the final video, we're going to pivot from turning your debt, pivot from having debt to utilizing that debt to create wealth. And I know that may sound too good to be true, but I promise you that as we go through this process, you are going to have that all there. Now, as I end this video, this is one of the things that I want you to like really lean on and really understand, and the importance of cash flow. And as we utilize debt, and I'm going to show you as we go through this debt management masterclass how you can do it. This $10,000 here of monthly cash flow, right? The key here is rather than focusing on the accumulation model where you got to give up control of your money and maybe think for the next 30 years I want to get there, and your brain doesn't even know how to plan that far out. In fact, I would say even beyond that is like there are too many environmental risks and too many elements of the plan that are so far outside of your control that you're almost set up for failure, right? Because you're thinking 30 years out. But now if we think here and we say, all right, in the next 10 to 15 years, right, with a review every year, can we get to where we want to be, right? So in the next 10 to 15 years, can I reach my goal of having $10,000 a month? And can we review this every year? Why am I going to review this every year? Because remember, maybe this year I need 10,000, right? But maybe this year I really only get to like $200 a month in cash flow, okay? Now that may not sound like a lot, but it's actually 2% of the way there. That's $200 is 2% of 10,000. That doesn't sound like a lot, but now we're going to review this every single year. Why are we going to do that? Because maybe next year, based on inflation, based on my life, based on how I'm changing, maybe I need 10,400 per month. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. That, year two. And so I can now, once again, have a cash flow plan that's designed on investing and saving and having a strategy that's designed to create passive income that helps me accomplish my goals. Once again, I'm not telling you how to do this. If you want to learn how to do this, I've got my book, Cash Flow Hacking, that teaches you how to do this. I'm going to go deeper into the strategies, and we'll talk more about this as we go. But the bottom line, the reason I want you to understand this in context of what we're talking about for debt management is the fact that this all plays together, okay? And we got to stop thinking about giving up control for 30 years and retiring at 65. My buddy Garrett Gunderson always says he wants to retire the word retirement, right? Like, because that idea is just keeping people broke. It's not allowing people to take full control and responsibility for the results in their life. And at the end of the day, I think, what do you do when you hit retirement? Too many people are getting to retirement and they lose their purpose, they lose their mission, they lose their drive, they don't have enough clarity on what they actually exist for, what's going to fulfill them, and therefore that's where problems, start to arise. That's where people get sick and they break down and they die prematurely, and so on and so forth. I don't know why anybody would actually ever want to retire if they actually do what they love. Maybe shifting their purpose in their life and how much they actually show up to work and where they spend their time and allocate, their energy, that is something to take into consideration. But when we think about cash flow and we start thinking about, can we manage our debt to improve our cash flow? The answer is an unequivocal yes. One of the things that we talk about a lot is financial efficiency, and you cannot reach financial efficiency, and that'll be the last video, without having full understanding and management of your debt. And when we start talking about this, my biggest thing in this is like, hey, most people have financial leaks in their life. There's no way around it. We all have ways in areas in our life that we're inefficient because we make lifestyle decisions, because we're human beings and we're emotional beings, and let's face it, life doesn't exist on a spreadsheet. So life happens, we make emotional decisions. I don't know a single person alive that makes 100% just optimized, financially efficient decisions, and that's just because we're human, right? However, if I could show you a way that you could find the debt, right, and find the money that you're losing unknowingly and unnecessarily, and we can recapture that money and reposition it to create wealth. That's what this is all about. That's what this class is going to be about. It's not just eliminating debt, because I don't believe in just eliminating debt, because there are some situations and some people, certain profiles, where debt can be an amazing tool. I don't think there are any solidified rules that are non-negotiable, in the sense that are just principles or absolutes where you should maybe always be on one side of the fence or the other. Some people, some profiles, some personalities, some people at different stages and with different skill sets are going to want to fall in different ways and want to handle and manage their debt in different ways. My purpose in this masterclass is not to tell you exactly what to do, but to teach you the framework and kind of give you the rules of the playing field and the rules of the game, the rules of engagement that you can understand to make a more educated decision for yourself. Now, I think while that's not necessarily the easiest way to go, I believe that you have it in you to really understand this stuff, to get to know this stuff, so you can take radical, full accountability for the results in your own life. I refuse to talk to you like Dave Ramsey would talk to you and kind of tell you that you're too stupid to understand this complex stuff. Therefore, you should just simplify it and do this. I think you are where you are in life because of who you are. I don't want to teach you these simple rules just to shrink into becoming less than you are called to be in this world. I want to teach you the rules that can help you expand into becoming who you need to be to live the life that you want to live, and to grow into becoming who you need to be to actually hit that next level, right? Like, that's what this is all about. And so hopefully, as we go through this, engage, ask questions, comment in the comment section below, and I would say just push yourself. Just stay committed to it. Stay committed to your growth. If you're here, if you've watched this video to this point in time, that tells me you're somebody who's committed to engaging in this process, because you don't get 25 minutes into a video like this without that being the case. So that's it. Welcome to the Debt Management Masterclass. I'm excited to have you here. Can't wait to see you on the next video. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and look forward to seeing you on the next video. All right. Have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon. See ya.